We were talking about an offshoot of this off air, and that is my rule number 2 for liberals, and that is they always overplay their hand. Rule number 1 is they think you're dumb. Rule number 2, they always overplay their hand. And I'll give you an example of what you're talking about. You know, I challenged liberals because we were discussing the possibility of I want to have a liberal lunch on Wednesdays during the summer, where during the 12 o'clock hour, I invite a liberal on and just to talk to them. I don't want to argue. I don't want to debate. I just want to talk to you. I want to know where you're coming from because I think we need to understand these people. And you were talking about the openness that the hostility, how that open hostility exists when you're just trying to call balls and strikes with regard to the outcome of this trial, for example.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of exactly what you're talking about. You're like, they don't even take the wins where they get the wins.
Right.
So did you hear that Alvin Bragg's office is attempting to continue the gag order on Trump?
Yes, I saw that.
Like that's not even a good move.
No.
Right? Here's what you don't want. You don't want Trump running around the country saying, I could say everything about how awful and corrupt this is, but they won't let me.
That seems worse. Than
him trying to explain. The old rule of politics is if it takes you longer to explain.
If you're explaining, you're losing.
Right. And so, they say convicted felon. Trump has to explain.
I'm not.
That he's not. And so you're winning.
Right.
But what Alvin Bragg wants to do is take that away from them. You're overplaying your hand. It's a dumb political maneuver.
Well,
plus it's unconstitutional.
The thing that I run into all the time is if you want me not to support a candidate, tell me I don't have a choice. Mm-hmm. Tell me I must. And it doesn't matter of the party or whatever. The MAGA folks that are like, if you don't support Donald Trump, you support Joe Biden. I'm like, And the ones that with Biden are like, either you love democracy and will vote for Joe Biden or else. I'm like, I mean, I have choices. I'm a voter. I get to pick. And so you must do this thing and Democrats have particularly been bad about this. It's, you must say it this way. You must be this way. This is the orthodoxy. And if you deviate from that, then you are punished. And that makes my skin crawl.
Well, and you see it in mainstream media as well. And yeah. I don't expect that they would admit to direct collusion, but indirectly they're doing the same thing, as in every Republican that sits down on MSNBC or CNN or ABC, CBS, NBC, do you defend? I mean, they have to pass the litmus test before they're allowed to speak. Like, do you agree with the verdict? And they were doing this for about 24 hours after Donald Trump said we're living in a fascist state. Do you believe this is a fascist state? I was like, what? Wait, hold on a second. Do I believe that Donald Trump has a right to be upset and frustrated? Do I think he has a right to his own opinion about where we're going? And yeah, of course I believe. No, do you? But
you're not allowed to explain that.
Right. You're not allowed to say that. You have to say yes or no.
And this is what makes me, I'm visibly mad about this stuff when it happens.
Y'all look at him, guys.
It is this idea that, well, you know what's wrong with Republicans? Is they're just Trump acolytes. They are all on the same team. And the same media that does that says, do you support everything he says or not? Do you? And then it's like, wait a minute. I have always maintained that I want to get it right. I want, when Trump's wrong, he's wrong. I make that call. But where they're pushing me right now, the Democrats, is if you say anything positive about Trump, then you are a threat to democracy.
And all of them that are doing that, these same political players, ran with a Russian collusion story.
Mm-hmm.
Ran with the laptop was a Russian laptop story. 51 experts say so. I mean, they run with it, and it always seems that they run with the stories that supports their guy and is confirming to their narrative. They never do it on the other side. They claim, well, that's what the information told us at the time. Information never tells you anything that's positive for Trump. The information never tells you anything that's negative for Joe Biden, because that's the way it seems.
Because you're a liar. And that's what happens. And that what makes me so mad is if there's any human being, politician or otherwise, you're like, they're always right or they're always wrong. That's just not reality. And that's what happens. And then I have not made up my mind on, I'm not voting for Joe Biden. I'm still looking at Trump and saying, But the Democrats are like pushing me to do that. They're like, please vote for Trump, because if you don't vote for Joe Biden, we hate you.
Ray just wrote in, I'm not making this up, seconds ago. Okay, maybe a minute ago. Matt asked Cameron Romney
Fair.
if he will be voting for Trump in November.
I don't know.
Why don't you know? I mean, the legit question.
Yeah.
Legit question.
And I think that's
You're
fair.
informed.
Yeah. And this has been my concern all along is, would I vote in Trump? Would I pick Trump out of a lineup and say, this is my guy, I want to get behind him? No, I wouldn't do that. When you put it in a context of Joe Biden or Donald Trump, and this is the most compelling case to me, did you like the way things were going under Trump more than Joe Biden? And the answer is yes. Like, that's true. And I don't like, I don't like being forced into a binary choice. I really don't. I'm a kind of a double hater. I don't like either one. And I'm telling you, Democrats are pushing on me to like really pull for Trump. I mean, I'm going to vote Republican. The question is, am I going to write in a Republican for president, or am I going to vote for Donald Trump?
I've got a thought on that in a second, but I can't get away from this. Jason, one of our best super texters that we have on the membersnutrition.com super text line, says, Matt, this inviting a liberal on Wednesdays kind of thing, I think it's kind of played out. You've been having one on at 2:00 every Wednesday afternoon for the last.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. I understand you guys.
So we need that. Here's the thing, though. A lot of conservative Trump supporters will smart at what you just said. Yeah. Here's what I would tell you. We need Cameron. That is the point that I'm trying to make, is that we don't need to tell Cameron that he can go to hell in a handbasket. We need to bring Cameron in and help and discuss with him as a conservative that is a little itchy about Trump. Here's what I would ask you, and this is going to kind of repair it with the audience in my head for a minute, depending on how you answer, and I honestly don't know how you answer. Would you feel the same way if you didn't live in Tennessee? In other words, would your analysis of where you are on your vote change if you lived in Michigan?
That's a tough one. The swing state aspect to me is it matters. Like, if I don't, Trump's going to win Tennessee, and I know that, right?
That's exactly.
And so it's now if my
that's
vote,
why I asked.
If my vote mattered, and I'm like
it could legit change the swing of the state.
So, and I've told a lot of y'all this. The reason I look at it is I look at whoever I vote for, whoever I pull for, I'm willing to stand behind them and say that's my leader, right? And my question with boys in my house, with the example that Trump sets, I understand people can say, well, it's not about being a good church leader. It's not about all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But is that the kind of man that I want to tell my sons I'm willing to line up behind his leadership?
Are you telling your son the truth about past presidents?
Yeah.
Like JFK?
I didn't vote for JFK.
FDR? I'm not asking you that. Are you telling them the truth about these past presidents that they honor?
Not just presidents.
I mean, don't we honor JFK?
I tell them the truth. And my point...
let's not pretend that Trump is somehow different.
They don't honor the truth. Do I think Trump is different than some of these guys? Yeah, but are all unique. Like, if the idea is they're all corrupt, it doesn't matter.
JFK was a philandering drug abuser, and we honor him.
I didn't vote for JFK.
Well, but once again, are you teaching your... I mean, what are we teaching our kids? That all the past presidents have been wonderful and awesome, and this president is different?
No, I don't teach them that. I teach them the truth. I talk about those things as they ask me questions, and so this is about a personal stance.
Well, you're suggesting that by demonstration, if you vote for Donald Trump, that you're somehow teaching your children a bad lesson.
I'm not saying that you're teaching your children or anybody else's. I'm saying I'm telling my kids when I vote for somebody, I'm lining up behind their leadership, and I have to have a good explanation for that to my boys. And I think that's a fair ask. And I'm not saying no. I'm simply saying I got to kind of wrestle with that a little bit. And I think that if folks don't want to wrestle with that, that's fine.
No. I mean, it's all good.
I'm not going yelling at people and saying, hey, if you do, then you're like the Democrats are like, if you do, you hate democracy. You're complicit. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a tough pull for me.
Y'all noticed Cameron didn't answer the Michigan question. I'm going to ask you.
It's a tough one.
That's a tough one. I get it. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think fair question asked and fair that you need to think about it. And I'll ask next week.
It's fair.
When we have no Mac Morey. You got one more. I got 20 seconds. You got anything to say to Mac? You won't be here on Friday unless you want to come by.
It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Not as hard as it is to listen to that singing.
Exactly.